Hello, wise people. This is the Wise Finances Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing, is credit really important? Do you really need it to gain financial independence and wealth? Very controversial topic in the financial community. You have big financial these like Dave Ramsey, who says, credit is dumb. You don't need a credit card. Close it. You don't need a credit score. Never put anything on credit. Anything you want, pay cash. And if you do take out a mortgage, it's okay. 15 year, at least 20% down, and then pay it off as early as you can, because his thoughts is that basically like your income is your biggest builder to wealth, and the you can leverage that more if you owe less people. Kind of very like black or white thinking. um no shade to Dave. Think Dave is great, but that's not really the reality for most people. And I think that's why I wanted to like kind of go into this topic today, because it's important to really like understand credit and how you can really leverage it. Where most of our interactions with credit is actually pretty negative, um, because we're not really using it to our advantage, and we're letting companies, the banks, basically make money off of us, because we are, because of compound interest, um, but not in a positive way, right? Through debt by people you owe. So, yeah. So I wanted to tackle this subject, because I know I've heard so many thoughts about it. And when I was coming up and trying to figure out, like, my debt payoff strategy, and how I can, you know repay my credit cards, I've learned so many different approaches that it was kind of like sometimes hard to like, well, which one makes sense for me. And sometimes that definitely is troubling. So it's good to learn as many approaches as you can, and ultimately go with your gut, go with your instincts, and then trial and error. You might try something, doesn't work out, and that's okay. Try something else and it does, so that's cool. But I really wanted to discuss, like, why you need to leverage credit. Ultimately, credit, if used properly, can allow you to get things at better rates. So this is what I mean by that. The higher your credit score means is the less interest you pay to whoever you owe, or whatever you take out. So if we do the example with like a house and a mortgage, if you have a 685, or plus, um, credit score, then that means in return, you will find when you're, looking for a house, looking for a mortgage, when you're shopping different lenders, you will find that you will get a lower interest rate. Um, so it's crazy, right? It's kind of like, wow. So the your score, the better it is, it benefits you, right? And usually the people you think who have the lower score, who have challenges, are actually penalized more, and then have a higher rate that they can't afford. So is you I don't know if that makes sense, but you kind of like see the cycle. It's like, wow, like I'm I don't have this high score, so I get penalized for that. And then I'm paying more, which means that's less money for me, because I'm paying more on like a car loan, or I'm paying more on a credit card that I now am my income is spreading more to the people I owe, and so it's less for me to save and build wealth. So yeah, it's a crazy cycle. So you definitely want to make sure you are on the other side of the cycle, right? How are you leveraging credit instead of being um what's the word I want to use? Like a victim, right? A victim of it. I think that's like the best way I can say. So usually like the first thing to know about your credit score is 35% of your credit score is actually built up on your payment history. So it is so critical to whoever you owe, if it's Sears, if it's Target, if it's Capital One, if it's Discover, Chase, whoever, you gotta pay your minimum payments. You gotta pay your bills. Because that they creditors like to see, well, okay, if I'm gonna give you money for something, I want to know that you can pay me back. So that's why your payment history is so critical. So that goes back to in the last podcast when I went back to like automating your finances, right? Making sure you're not missing any payments, making sure everything is being paid for, because that will haunt you. One late payment can drop your score so much. So definitely, definitely, definitely write down, pull up your credit report, your full report, see who you owe, if you're not sure, write it down, write those due dates down. And actually there's something else you're going to do too that I'll get to next that you'll do that will be good for you to increase your score. But back to making sure you just really really pay your payments, because that makes the bulk of your score is making sure you are paying on time. The next bulk of what your credit score is made up is actually, they call it like the amount you owe, or you might hear credit utilization. That makes up 30% of your credit score. So a good example is if you have a credit card from Discover, it's your first credit card, and it has a credit limit of $1,000. Okay. You want to make sure at all times that you are, for a good score, you do not charge more than 30% on that card. So that means $300. So you should never owe more than $300 in that credit card with that line, to receive a good score. So I know, like I said, some of us might be trying to get out credit card debt. So it might be a little tough. It might take some time, but if you have any credit cards, make sure you are not overcharging them, charging up to the limit, because you want to have at least always 70% available to you, because that shows lenders, right, that, oh, you are a good steward. You're kind of like living between your means, right? Because think about credit, right? Credit is something you are getting borrowed, right? You don't own that $1,000, right? um so you're using credit to basically pay for the items you want, or whatever you're getting. So that's why it's so crucial to make sure your utilization is always under 30%. Now, if you want to get to that excellent bracket, okay, that 760 and above bracket, all right, you gotta be under 10%. 10%. So we go back, same example of $1,000. Now, $1,000, yeah, $1,000, right? 10% of that, you don't want to ever go over, what is that, $100. So for that example, right, same thing. If you really trying to boost your credit score on all the credit you have, you want to make sure you're under that 10% threshold. So when you're building your credit too, this is what's key too with your utilization. So you might need to spread it out. Yeah, might need to get another card. And know how crazy as it sounds, right? Because it's like, okay, you're telling me to get more in debt, or and you have to be very, very disciplined with this, right? This is not, if you struggle with credit, this might not be the advice for you, okay? This is not the advice for you. Just worry about paying it off and worrying about paying off it, and then you can then worry about building your your credit score later. Don't try to do with financial goals, and don't try to do too many things at once, because a lot of times different there are a lot of contradicting things that I would tell someone, or advice I'll give someone who's trying to get out of debt, trying to get out of credit card debt, is not the same advice I would give someone who's trying to build their credit. So this is key for, you know, people who are trying to build their credit. This is the advice for that. So that's why I was saying it makes sense to get another card. And why is that? Because you want to stretch, you want to have more utilization, right? So instead of just only having that one card in $500, right, in $1,000, so you're like 50, you have 50% your utilization is used. You go get another card, right? Say they'll probably give you a little bit more because you already have the one card. Say they'll give you 2,000, right, this time. Now you have $3,000 and you owe only $500. Your utilization rate has just dropped. Um, so another thing that you might hear is, and actually is very common, is that parents or loved ones will add their children, when they're 18, on their credit cards, right? Because they are now have that utilization that their parents, from what their parents built. So now, instead of applying on their own, when not, basically having a zero credit, right, nothing on their credit score, now they've utilized they inherit, right, basically their parents' good habits. So this is you only want to basically get used as an authorized user on someone who is good with credit and someone who doesn't, carry balances, because then, wow, now you can inherit whatever utilization limit they have. The next part of your credit score is your age of credit. So how long basically have you how long have you had credit, right? The the longer the better. So many times, what happens is, which is kind of like a rookie mistake that no one tells you, is, you get your first credit card probably, in college, right? Signed up for it. Maybe it was a store card. Maybe at the time you liked the store. I got my first store card at Victoria's Secrets. Um, it's so random. Like, I don't know. I think they got me on the annual sale, y'all. So my first store credit card I got was in college was to Victoria's Secret. So, you get that card, maybe you use it, maybe you don't, or maybe after a while you just, forget about it and you stop using it. Right, you don't go to Victoria's Secret, or you don't go to Macy's anymore. You don't even like Hollister. If you ever went to Hollister, you don't even walk in those stores anymore. But that was the first thing on your credit report, right? So you don't use it, you don't use it, kind of disappears. It kind of goes away. There's no activity on it. So what happens is, yeah, or you might just decide, oh, I don't use it, I'm gonna close it. Big, big, big mistake. Why? Because that is that's your oldest line of credit. That shows that's 15%, of your credit score, is how long have you been good. Basically, to lenders, is like, how long have you been good with money, right? So if you've taken, say you got your first credit card 10 years ago and you decide to close it, you lose those years. So look on your credit report, whatever is the oldest on your credit report, hold on to that for dear life, as long as you can, as long as you can. Because that's what's showing you that you're good, because every time you open something new, right, it's going to be an average. It's going to take that oldest, that's 10, and that new one that's a couple months, and then that's how you get your average line of credit. So um usually 15 plus is good, starting off good, and then 20 is like excellent, so 20 years. um so those first credit cards, or like I said, those first things on your credit report, they kind of matter. I know it's like when you're young, you kind of just maybe got whatever like that. So hey, every year I still got my Victoria's Secret card, and you know what I do once a year? I will buy something off it. I surely do. And I just pay it off right, right there, make the payment literally straight from the little computer app I have, and boom. But I'm keeping on. I'm keeping on, because that is literally like my oldest line of credit. So me and Victoria's Secret, we have a relationship. We're in a long term relationship. So if I went back, if I knew better, I probably wouldn't have chose Victoria's Secret. But hey, it is what it is, and that's all good. So yeah. So that's pretty much key, right? Making sure you just look at your oldest line of credit and never let it go. Never let it go, because that's going to help balance out when you start getting new stuff, whether you need like a new car, or that new mortgage that you get, etc. So um that is good. So hopefully these are just, let's just do a quick recap. Definitely credit, number one, your payment history, 35%. Make sure you pay your bills on time. That is key. Um, Next is the amount you owe, your utilization rate. So that is 30%. Third is, 15% of your um credit age. So keeping up, knowing your oldest line of credit, securing that, holding on to dear life to that, whatever that is on your credit report. Then you have next, number four, 10% of the type of credit you have. Just making sure you have that variety in your report. Student loans, whatever it starts off. Then if it might be mortgage, etc., credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, you name it. Then last, your new line of credit, your inquiries. So making sure you keep your inquiries um, low as you can. So definitely, if you are not thinking about buying anything using credit, like sometimes different stores will trying to like, oh, we can run your credit, see how much you approve, what you can get. Like, if you don't do it, if you know you're not gonna like follow through, because that will be a hard inquiry on your credit. Um, and so you want creditors to show that you're not always looking to use on credit. So as crazy as it sounds, it's like you leveraging credit, but you're leveraging in the smart ways, and the efficient ways. So definitely a lot to jot down. Definitely a lot to remember. Um, Making sure that definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. My DMs are always open. You can find me at the wise finances underscore on Instagram. Also, you can email me. Email me is in the show notes of the podcast. Yeah, and hopefully like that just tells you the like ways you can really just maximize, your credit score and make it be beneficial to you, right? And so you're not, paying interest, or you're not yeah, paying interest to like your credit cards, right? You are utilizing your utilization smartly, and having it low, and not carrying balances, because that's only going to put you um in a better position when you want to go after things for more long terms. If you're looking into real estate, looking to buying your first home, looking to buying investment properties, that's really going to be key to really like leveraging your credit and leveraging your credit score. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all of the above, leave a comment, and I will see you next week. Thank you. This is the Wise Finances Podcast.